right, here we are already in week 3 of professional communication here in the summer 2025. This is your week at a glance for this week number 3. Let's start by having a look back at what we talked about last week. We started delving into this idea of interpersonal communication last week, and we talked about verbal and nonverbal communication. In your e-text through Stu Kent, you looked at verbal communication, the idea that there's these different categories of nonverbal communication that help us to convey meaning and to communicate with one another. Right? We've got the appearance in the upper left-hand corner, the different artifacts we adorn ourselves with, whether it's clothes or jewelry, tattoos, hairdos, whatever it is that we have that works to send that message to other people. We've got the kinesics right there, front and center, right? All the different facial expressions, everything like that. Facial expressions are very strange, very unique, very interesting. They are the only nonverbal cue that is not culturally bound. People in different cultures recognize facial expressions the same. Children that are blind can do facial features just the same as sighted children. It's amazing. Facial features, that's the one nonverbal cue that we use the most is our facial expressions. And that's why COVID was such a big deal when we had to wear our masks and everything. Vocalics, bottom left-hand corner, the ability to use tone of voice, to use volume, to use accents, to use all those different things through vocalics. Upper right-hand corner, we've got proxemics, how close we are to one another. That sends a message, that says something without saying something. And then, of course, the haptics down in the bottom right-hand corner, touch, one of the most dangerous of the nonverbal cues if done incorrectly. All right, next thing that we looked at was social skills, right? We looked at this idea that these social skills help us. They're like tools that we need to get across our things that we need to do, right? What do I need to get out of this interaction? What do I want to get out of this interaction? It's the social skills that allow me to do that. And one thing that is a social skill that I touched on last week when we talked about verbal communication is the idea of being able to convey connotative meaning, right? We've got the denotative meaning of all these words, which is like the dictionary agreed upon definition, but then we've got the connotative meaning, which is the emotion and everything that comes along with certain words. And I talked about how you want to avoid certain words because certain words carry connotations with them, so you want to be careful of that, right? And also we talked with skills and everything like that, and verbal communication. We talked about the 3 things that verbal communication allows us to do. First, of course, is the conveying of meaning, right? I've got words in my head that I want to put into your head. I can use words to do that, but it also helps me connect with other people, right? That was the relational aspect. The way that I communicate with another person is a reflection of the relationship I feel I have with that person, and it helps us establish culture. And we want to be careful, just like with connotative meanings and everything like that, we want to be careful with the establishment of culture when it comes to the words that we use, because it will create in-groups and out-groups, and we don't want people feeling excluded. We want them to feel included, so we want our language to be very inclusive when we talk to other people. And again, these social skills, they're going to help us do that, right? They're the tools that we use to help us get what we want or need out of a particular interaction. So hopefully you learned about your own personal social skills and your own sets with that personal assessment activity that we did. The idea behind that, again, getting you thinking about who you are as a person, so when you meet with your group members, you can really kind of convey a lot better who you are. Now you can get a look at who they are, and it really should help you when you're this week putting together your group plan and contract that you have for the semester. We also looked at the idea of patient-centered communication and talked about how the impact that can have, right? Allowing a patient to at least feel as though they're in the loop and really a part of the decision-making process. It provides better health outcomes. It gives improved patient satisfaction, better relationships between the provider and the patient, and ultimately it lowers the cost of healthcare, because they're doing what they need to do as far as aftercare goes. The communication goes quicker and it's more effective and everything like that, right? So very, very strong to be able to use that patient-centered communication. And then we also talked about these interpersonal communication theories, right? We talked about how they interact with one another, and I said that there were 8 that I gave gave you last week that applied to the final project. 4 of these are the 4 that I'm giving out. Each group is going to have one of these 4 theories here that you see on your screen here: expectancy violation theory, uncertainty reduction theory, communication accommodation, and the attribution theory. Each group has one of these for their final project. Now, you will be utilizing a second theory later on when you create your action plan. For those of you that read the activity sheet and everything that I put up, and the video that I put out and everything, that'll make more sense to you, and hopefully you can convey that to any group members that didn't watch or read those things. These are those, right? You're going to be looking at patient-centered communication theory. I should say patient-centered care is the first one there. Social support theory is one that you'll have available to you. Uncertainty management theory, which is, it's a lot like the uncertainty reduction theory, except it says sometimes we don't want to reduce uncertainty. Sometimes if you've got a patient that has some kind of terminal illness, they may not want to know how much time they have. They may want to just go out and live life. So that's an interesting theory to kind of counteract the uncertainty reduction theory. And then relational dialectics theory is another great one. And what I'll be doing throughout the semester is I will be, with these theories, I'll be giving my interpretations of them and everything like that as we go. So you won't be left out in the cold as far as that goes. They were in the LMS book last week, so hopefully you read up on those. All right, as far as graded components, you had that personal assessment activity that I mentioned earlier. It measured your social skills, your soft skills, your the hard skills that you have, personality, all those kind of things, to give you a better understanding of who you are. And then the 3 topic ideas for the speech, I'm looking forward to those. Hopefully you looked at the no-goes on that to save some time there. We'll see how that goes. But I'm looking forward to seeing what ideas you have for the speech, and then a couple of quizzes that you had to take as well. All right, so let's go ahead and look at what we've got this week, right? So what are this week's topics? Well, we're cracking into a new unit, right? A new part, rather, of the second unit, Unit 2, interpersonal communication. This week, we're going to look at small group communication. So last week, we looked at interpersonal, right? The one-on-one kind of communication, that patient-centered communication. This week, we're going to be looking at small group communication. So between 3 and 20 people that will be interacting in a group that has a common goal and the ability to communicate and everything like that. That's what we'll be talking about this week. And not coincidentally, I should say, you're going to be interacting with your group quite heavily this week to put together your group plan and contract activity that you have. So that's why I have you reading up on small group communication this week, is to prepare you and have you thinking of that kind of stuff as you go through. We're also going to talk about leadership and advocacy. That'll be something, different leadership styles we'll be looking at, and the small group communication theories will be in there as well. So with Chapter 8 in your Stu Kent e-text, that's going to be about workplace teams. So kind of that professional idea there, different types of teams, how you form them, how you work within them. And then Chapter 10, you're going to look at holding business meetings themselves. How do you conduct a business meeting? How do you act? Like, what is the expected kind of etiquette and everything that you use? How do you lead them? All right, so that'll be very beneficial for those of you that want to be the leaders in your group, is to check out Chapter 8 and 10 in the Stu Kent courseware. That'll be there for you. So then the LMS book, that's going to focus more on small group communication itself, defining small groups, talking about decision making, effective communication, and this idea of groupthink. We're going to dig into groupthink this week, and it's also going to look at some communication theories that deal with small group communication. And then, I'm also going to turn my attention in the book to leadership and leadership styles and everything like that, and wrap up by looking at the idea of advocacy and how, as leaders, we can be advocates not just for ourselves and our coworkers, but for our patients as well. Okay, so to review this week, some things that you'll need to check out. Obviously, after watching this here, you're going to want to look at the virtual writing lab that I have for the group plan and contract, explaining how to do that, why we're doing it, everything like that. The learning materials to check out, that LMS book. It's the chapter on interpersonal communication, small group communication. Again, that's going to cover small group communication. It's going to cover groupthink and leadership and advocacy and all those kind of things. And then in your Stu Kent online courseware, you're going to read chapter 8 and 10 about business meetings and everything like that. And then the documents that you'll want to review this week, I will have the final project up again because you are meeting with your groups. I want you to also look at the checkpoint activity number 1 document. That will be up on the LMS. It's not due this week. It's not due until the end of next week, but I want to get that on your radar now so you can start looking at it and understanding what is expected of you for that. And then there's the links for the Get to Know You video, and a forum will be there for you as well to talk with each other. So I'm excited for you to get to watch the videos. I loved watching those and getting back to you all on those. Hopefully you checked out the responses that I gave you on the evaluation sheet that's on the in the Dropbox now. But I have posted the links to all of those videos so you can check those out. There is a forum so you can interact with each other and talk about it and everything like that. And as far as activity folders, again, that's the assignment sheet or the activity sheet, the instruction sheet, and the evaluation sheet or rubric for the 2 activities that you have this week. There's the group activity of the group plan and contract, and then there's the individual activity of the leadership style activity. All right, so there's a good segue, right? What are your graded components this week? They'll be due Friday the 30th by 11:59 p.m. You've got the group plan and contract activity. That is you getting together with your group and talking about what your expectations are, what the rules and regulations are for your group, and signing off on that, and making sure that everyone understands what is expected, and putting that together as like a contract to bind you all for the semester. And then the individual activity will be the leadership style activity, where you're going to be figuring out what kind of leader you are and reflecting on what type of leader you are, what type of leader you want to be, everything like that. So those will be due Friday. And then we've got the quizzes. You'll have the quiz for quiz number 5, which is about small group communication. You will also have a couple of quizzes in your online e-text, chapter 8's quiz about workplace teams, and chapter 10's quiz about business meetings. And those will be due by Friday the 30th as well. All right, so just a few last thoughts. Take your time, really do some self-evaluation on that leadership style activity. I think that can be really beneficial for you to really give a better understanding of who you are, right? The personal assessment, did that last week, and now this is going to take a step further. Who are you as a leader? And in a couple weeks, we're going to be doing the same thing about conflict management. Like, what is your conflict management style? Make sure you're meeting with your group members this week. I have posted the document that has everybody's names and email addresses and everything like that. So hopefully you're interacting and you're talking about what you need to do. That checkpoint activity number 1 is on the horizon, right? It's not due the end of this week, it's due at the end of next week, but you want to start looking at it, paying attention to it, and doing everything you need to do for that. And just make sure you're always reading all the documents and all the videos and everything that I post for you. Make sure you're checking them out so that you're getting everything out of the class that you need to get. And of course, if you have any questions, I'm always here at brandon.schweitzer@altmancollege.edu. Everybody have a great week, and I will talk to you on the next one.